Hello, my Zentangle friends. This is Barbara Langston, CZT, Certified Zentangle Teacher, and welcome to Not Perfect Zen. This will be my last video of 2022, and I hope you enjoy it. I do want to say that on Christmas Eve, my daughter and her friend, who is also our chiropractor, came over and I gave them a lesson. And I was very excited to do it, very happy that my daughter wanted to take my class. And one of the comments that was made during that time was that they don't see very many of just the simple tiles like this that we do in the beginning lessons. So I thought that I would put together a few lessons that are more of the classic type tiles. And this will be my first one. And it's going to be a combination of Bales, Florz, and Henna drum. And I hope you enjoy it. We will start with appreciation for our materials. I'm using a tile that I cut. I used to buy sheets of Fabriano Tiepolo paper from dickblick.com and cut them myself because it just saved me so much money. And so when I decided to do this, I cut a whole bunch of these. And I'm going to stick to the basics of the Micron 01, a blending stump, and a graphite pencil. And we're going to start with the 4 corner dots. And I'm going to make my border fairly straight. And by the way, I did a video yesterday and I failed to push a certain button and it did not record what I was doing. It recorded my face the whole time, which you don't need to see. And so I don't have that video to show you. So here we go again. I know this one's working. I've got it set right. So I am going to the center of each of these sides, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but just to kind of get an idea of how I want to do a square. But we're going to put this square this way. So we're going to connect those dots. And this is our string. Okay. And I will show you what I did in my scrapbook. And I was trying to decide what I wanted to put on this. I definitely want to do this inside part. This is Bales and Florz, and a little flower that I like to put with henna drum and crescent moon, but it ends up kind of looking like a weird rocket. This is chyme or cyme. I'm not sure how to say that one, but ours will look more like this when we're finished. Okay, so let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, we're going to do our grid in the center. So I'm going to go ahead and fill in this box. It has been great weather after the freeze here in Houston. And It was nice to get out and be able to clean up the yard a little bit yesterday. Okay, so we have our square, and now we're going to make a grid. So I'm going to divide it in half, and then divide that one in, and divide this in half. And you can see they're not perfectly even. It's okay. Now we're going to do the same thing in this direction. Okay. I like the idea of going back to the tiles that I really enjoyed when I started. Okay, so the first one we're going to do is a version of Bales. I'm not going to put in those center diamonds. Bales is simply putting these C shapes around the lines for each of our squares. So just on the inside of this one, and then I'm going to go down on each side of these. And it begins to look kind of like a rice shape. Bales has always been one of my favorite patterns. It's a great filler. But what I like most about these patterns is they're easy to remember. And if you just want to sit down and relax and draw, which is what I like to do first thing in the morning and before going to sleep, then Bales is a nice pattern for that. And it's by Zentangle, one of the original patterns that we teach a lot in beginner classes, but it's not a pattern that's just for beginners. You can do a lot with it. Okay, so just keep doing these simple C shapes. Yeah, it's definitely got a wonky grid, but you'll see that it'll be okay. Now I'm going to turn my tile and do the same thing in the other direction. And as we put more of these little rice shapes in, it starts to have the look and feel of petals, like on a flower. And we call that a meta pattern, when other patterns come together and create a new pattern. Okay, just one more side. If I'm going too fast for you, feel free to stop. You can change the speed with YouTube and make this work for you. Okay, so that's just the beginning part of Bales. And what I like to do is put Florz in the center. And so we need to put an X in each one of these. And I'm not going to try to do one straight line that goes across because, as you can see from this grid, that's not going to work. So we're just going to go from corner to corner. in each one of these squares. Okay, so I'm going to go in one direction first. All right, then I'm going to turn my tile and come back in the other direction. When I first started Zentangle, I also did a lot of doodling because I was learning this on my own. I just found fun shapes to put into my tiles and add to my patterns. And I would make these small square grids and put these little X's inside, and then I would put little flowers. And that's what I did on this. So instead of putting the little X on here at the intersection, let's put just little flower petals. Or you can make just a little O. Very simple. So this is just a variation on Bales and Florz. And I just think it's fun. All right. Do this however you want to. You can turn your tile if that's easiest for you. Put each one of these little petals in. Okay. What I tend to do is something similar to a figure 8. So I come up, I come back down, come back around, and then come back and come back in one continuous line. And so that just happens to be something that I enjoy doing. So almost like a double infinity symbol in both ways. Okay. So that's what I'm doing here. And just take your time and enjoy what you're doing. Like I said, if you wanted to, you could just put a little orb on each side, or don't do this at all and just make it like the regular Florz pattern, like this. And that'll be nice too. I was trying to think of what I called this when I started combining it, Florz and Bales. You could call it flails or Thors. And that probably won't come across very well on the closed captioning, but anyway. And this could be pretty if you wanted to color these. I plan to keep these classes just classic black and white. And then if you want to, you can come back later and add color. Okay. All right. So there we have the first part. And now I'm going to do henna drum. And I'm going to do it first the way that she has it. And this is by Jane MacKugler, CZT. And this is pretty much the basic pattern that she did. So let's just start here. And I'm just going to come around and add a little bit of weight on the end of that. And I do have this border here, but borders and strings are just suggestions. You don't have to stay tight within them. Okay, so we made that little stem and a little, like a half moon, and then we're going to put an aura around it. And I like to start in the middle, and I call this 3 toes, these petals, if you follow the way Jane did it. So 3 little toes, and then come back down, and then just keep going around. And you'll end up getting about 5 petals on here. Turning your tile to keep your hand comfortable, and I should stay on the screen. And then inside, we're just going to put a couple of lines. Okay, and then she puts 3 little dots. All right, so I'm going to do another one here. We're going to put our little stem, and then that little half moon, and then we aura it and start adding our little petals. Henna drum is one of my all-time favorite petals patterns. Okay, so we have our petals. We're going to put a couple of lines in the side of each petal. All right. And let's put one more here. Okay. Just keep adding your petals. Almost got too close there. But if you are close, just make it look like it goes behind. Then we're going to put our 3 little dots. And the other thing that she adds is these little curls. All right. And we might come back and put another one here, but let's see what we think. All right, let's do that on the other side. And one of the things that you can do is add just a little curl that goes like this. Okay. And then let's add our edge around. I got kind of close to the edge. But we'll just make these little petals. There are plenty of tiles where I've seen people go all the way to the edge, and I have done that on mine. So it's okay if you do that. Like I said, the border is just a suggestion. And our 3 little petals. And then we're going to put one here. We can make this one a little bit bigger since I didn't get so close to the edge. So we do our little black bump and then the aura, starter petals. And then your little lines inside. I don't think you can hear it, but we do have some thunder and a little bit of rain, but we've needed it. Okay, so I'm going to come off of this one, put another little spiral coming off for a stem, and then come here and put my little bump and an aura. So you can kind of see how this one was done with a wave and then these little circles coming off, or stems. Remember to just enjoy one line at a time. Okay, so you could have more coming off in any direction that you wanted to, but I'm going to show you another henna drum that I like to do, and a lot of CZTs and, well, Zentangle artists like to do henna drum like this in a bigger version. What I prefer to do, instead of filling it in like that on the bigger ones, I just enjoy putting cross hatching. So cross hatching is we're going to put lines And they don't have to be perfectly even. And then we're going to put lines that go across. Now, I'm not going to do straight up and down like a grid. I want to do it kind of at an angle more like this. It's just my preference. And I enjoy filling these in that way. Okay, so that's our little half moon. Now we're going to add an aura. And now we're going to start adding our petals. And this is how I like to do mine also. So I make a taller petal because I have more room, and then just kind of a little ridge at the top instead of the three toes. And then I'm going to come a little bit over and come up again. And come back down. And come up again like this. And back down. And then what I do is fill in these little areas. So this is just my little version. And this petal is going to go behind. So I'm just going to stop. I'm going to come back over this way. Oops. And that's fine. And then come back up again. And I did my extra space there, which is okay. And then on these bigger ones, I like to aura the outside edge. Okay. And then we're going to go inside again and put some lines. And I put my pen down and then I'm doing a quick flick. Just flick it. Okay. So let's put another henna drum on this side. And I'll show you another way that you can do it if you do want to fill it in. I like to put like a shiny spot, like you would see on a gemstone or just reflecting off of something. And then we're going to fill it in and leave that little section white. And if you have a bigger pen than a one, like what I'm using now, it's easier to get this area filled in. I think that's why I enjoy doing this, because it's a little faster. Not that I'm in a hurry. But I also don't want you to have to watch me fill in a large space for very long. Okay, so that gives you the idea. You can always come back later with a bigger pen, like I have brush pens and I have graphic ones that make it easier to fill in a larger space like that, but not required. All you ever have to do for Zentangle is have a pen a pencil, and paper. Okay, so now we have that section. We're going to start putting the petals. See if I can do better on this one. Let's make them not quite so tall. And this time I'm just going to come up and down instead of leaving this little section like I did. Just showing you some options. And my suggestion is just practice and see what you like the best, like I did in my scrapbook. And that's why I decided to not do this because it makes it look like something is taking off. Okay, so just keep coming across and then back down. Come across, and that one is going to go behind. All right, now we're going to put our little hatch lines. Okay, so now let's add some shading. Also on this one, I filled in these little flowers just so you could see how that looks, but you don't have to. And I also, on the one in my sketchbook, I put the little, little bit of hatching here in the center of each flower. So let's do that real quick. And just when you have that little added drama at the beginning, and you could even put a little circle here to get that center part darkened a little bit. It just adds to your tile. When I first started, I didn't put a lot of shading or drama, and then finally learned how much of a difference it makes. But the biggest thing, just remember it's not a contest. You're not being graded. Just have fun with it. Learn as you go along. I learn what I do like, patterns I do and don't like. I just realized I didn't put any little curly cues here. Okay, so just put a little bit of the little hatch marks at the center of each of these. And we're going to go over them with our graphite pencil, so they don't have to be perfect. Okay, so just a little bit of darkening. One thing you might do if you want to see the progress that you're making is take a picture of your tile before you start adding things like this so that you can see the difference that it makes. I almost always do something like this in the middle of petals. Again, turn the tile if you need to. Keep your hand comfortable. Remember to breathe, relax your shoulders. And whenever I say relax your shoulders, it's because I realize that mine are tight. Checking to see where all I've missed some. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is add shading. So we're basically going to do about the same thing that we just did for each of these petals. We're going to add a little bit of graphite in the center, and then we're going to come back and pull that in more toward the middle of each petal. And there's one that I missed. Okay, so just a little bit. We might decide to come back and put more, but just start easy and see what you think. So we're putting about the same amount on each of these as we have with the hatching that we added with our pin. So that gives you an idea. Oh, there's some there too. I'm going to give that a second to dry. Come down here. Okay, I think I've got it on all of them now. So now you're going to get your blending stump. You may have one that looks more like this, and that's fine. If you don't have something like this, you can use your finger. You could use a cotton swab. Okay, so I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm just going to pull that toward the center, but I don't want to fill it up. I don't want to pull this all the way across. Okay, so we end up with this area right here staying white for each of these. Okay, so we're just going to soften these. In each direction. And you might decide to come back and put a little bit more graphite. Some people like a lot, some people don't. But you can see that that's starting to add nice highlights to your petals. I don't think I put graphite on that one. And your blending stump will start to pick up the graphite, and you can still use it. I don't think I have enough on this one. Okay, that's better. What I like about these blending stumps is that they can be cleaned and sharpened using either a little board that comes with them when you buy them, or you could use a nail file. And I did clean this up a little bit recently. Okay. So now we're going to shade the Henna drum. And on these big ones, I'm going to put graphite along this edge. And I'm also going to put a little along here, since it's supposed to be kind of going behind. And I'm going to add a little bit inside the aura. All right. Now we're going to soften that. And then just gently out here. Okay, same thing on this side. And then I'm going to put a little bit on the very edge of the petal. And then get your blending stump. These are also called tortillon. And the reason I call them blending stumps is because with YouTube and the closed captioning, it calls them tortillas instead of tortillons. Okay, so now when you've softened this, it makes it look like the petal is curving a little bit. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing on these, but I'm just going to put it along the bottom. And then soften it. Do the other side. All right. Now the next thing you can do is add your chop, sign, and date the back of this, and put the names of your patterns that you used, because when you come back later, you'll be glad you did, especially when you're learning new patterns. Okay. Other things you could do, you could add another border along here. Okay, let's do that because it's kind of a fun thing to do real quick. So wherever your border was, you can see with the line that we added in the beginning. Stop when you get to your pattern. Okay. And we're not going to see it there, but you can still see the string line. I didn't make it very dark. Sorry, my dog is growling at the neighbors. Okay, let's see that come out about there. Again, it's going to go behind that, behind those, there, and then we'll connect. And then some people like to add a second line, but let's just leave it like that. And I do appreciate you watching my videos this year. As of today, I have 5,998 subscribers. So I'm hoping that I get 6,000 before 2023. Thank you so much. I hope that you will subscribe and hit the like button and come back again. Have a very happy new year.